Well, hello there, it is me, some guy Gary, and this is Featured Fortune, or Featured Folly. This is a series where I use a random wheel spinner like the one seen here to generate me not only my exotic weapon, my exotic armor, my subclass, and featured armor set bonus, to create the most viable build I can in the shortest amount of time possible. And once the build is complete, we test it in a master activity on hard to see whether or not this build is a Featured Fortune or a Featured Folly. Hello everybody, it is me, some guy Gary, and welcome to a new series on the channel called Featured Fortune or Fiasco. This is a series where I will be taking a random wheel spinner to figure out which featured armor and weapons I will be using to create the most viable build with such. Without further ado, let's hop right into the wheel. The first wheel of the day will be armor set bonuses. It would appear we have the twofold armor set bonus. The second wheel of the day, featured exotic weapons. And the featured exotic weapon of the day will be Polaris Lance. The third wheel of the day is the featured Warlock exotic armor. The third wheel of the day has granted us nothing manacles. Well, on a normal episode of Featured Fortune or Fiasco, we would spin the subclass wheel. In this instance, we did get nothing manacles, and scatter grenades are only on the void subclass. Well, it appears I don't have a nothing manacles roll, so we're going to head on over to Ada 1 quickly, and oh Ada, I request a nothing manacles of you. In terms of the stats on this build, I will definitely be running grenade and weapons. Gotta head to the vault and make sure I have all my twofold crown armor. Alright, and just like that, we have all of the twofold crown armor equipped. Alrighty, everybody. So I have a rough setup here for the Void Walker subclass. We're currently running Nova Bomb Cataclysm, Healing Rift, Strafe Glide, Pocket Singularity, Scatter Grenades, of course, Chaos Accelerant, Call of the Old Gods, Echo of Vigilance, Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Persistence, and Echo of Starvation. Let's go ahead and grab some weapons. It's been so long since I used Polaris Lance, I have to go ahead and grab it out of the Collections tab. We even got an ornament for Polaris Lance. Check it out. It would appear that Polaris Lance actually has Dragonfly. However, I don't seem to have it unlocked. I'll be right back when I get this thing Catalyst complete. Oh, what kind of game show would it be without the wish wall? Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? And just like that, the catalyst is complete. We now have an upgraded Polaris Lance. This thing is an ad destroyer. Alright, so this marks test number 1. Well, that's a problem, ain't it? Alright, so with this setup currently, I have anti-barrier and unstoppable covered. This is a hard one to make worthy, brothers. Alright, so I decided to go into the shooting range to test out whether or not Chaos Accelerant was necessary for Nothing Manacles. Nothing Manacles enables the tracking for scatter grenades. Chaos Accelerant seems to maybe enhance it a bit, but it's definitely not necessary. So we're going to go ahead and drop Chaos Accelerant for Feed the Void. Alrighty, with the build finally completed, we have the first Featured Fiasco or Featured Fortune build here. I opted in for Mint Retrograde because it is one of the best weapons and it's featured. Polaris Lance, obviously. Outrageous Fortune, however you could definitely change this for Unwavering Duty. Polaris Lance is able to cover Unstops and Anti-Barrier this season because it spreads Scorch and Ignitions here. We're using Void Walker, obviously, with featured twofold Crown Cowl armor set as well as the Nothing Manacles. The armor set bonuses here, Crook and Flail and Gift of Sight. Crook and Flail, picking up an ammo brick heals you. Gift of Sight. Final blows with primary ammo weapons grant you briefly increased radar resolution, which is very, very useful in PvE. On to the Void Walker subclass screen here. We chose Nova Bomb Cataclysm, obviously. Healing Rift, Strafe Glide, Pocket Singularity, Scatter Grenades, Feed the Void, and Shout of the Old Gods. And for fragments, we chose Echo of Vigilance, Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Exchange, and Echo of Leeching. As long as you're causing damage with melees, you're going to be getting your grenades quite quickly. In a pinch, if you need to punch stuff, go right ahead. This build would work very well if there was a featured glaive, perhaps, but We're not that lucky, gamers. Why don't we pop on over and check out the mods? On the helmet, we went with harmonic siphons, super font, and heavy ammo finder. On the gauntlets, we went with grenade font, momentum transfer, and impact induction. On the chest, we went with harmonic resistance, sniper resistance, and solar ammo generation. On the boots, recuperation, solar weapon surge. Solar weapon surge could be switched out with just a normal weapon font, innervation as well. On the class item, we went with bomber, time dilation, and distribution. On to the artifact. Of note here we have radiant shrapnel, shield crush, rapid precision rifling, fever and chill, as well as anti-barrier scout. Let's find out whether this build is a featured fiasco or a featured fortune. We're gonna hop on into a battleground foothold on master hard difficulty here with these challenge modifiers. Is this going to be a featured fiasco or a featured fortune? Let's find out. Let's see if I can take down these combatants here in the entryway of this activity. Ideally, I complete the activity, but I'm sure the gameplay will speak for the quality of the build. Very nice to not be using that silly little Aurus neutralizer. I thought it would be good for keeping anti-barrier out of the way, but if Polaris Lance can just do everything here, why not use it? This anti-barrier really thinks he's funny standing back a mile and shooting me with his whatever you call that thing, slap cannon. I'll show you a slap cannon, big guy. There you go. How's that one feel? The sound that the Polaris Lance makes when it charges up a shot might be one of the most satisfying things I've ever heard in Destiny 2. So far, so good, I'd say. Definitely functional. It's viable. It's kind of fun, honestly. It's just spreading so much scorch and volatility, explosions galore. And then outrageous fortune with something like incandescent just makes it so much more fun. All right, we're gonna go ahead and back off for a moment because we need to get some shots into this big fella. And it does take a moment to get the unstop procced on him, and I'm stuck on a wall, it appears. But once we do, you're going down, big guy. Is that practical? Probably not, but hey, it saves us having to use two primary weapons. The featured weapons are cool, but man, do they make building hard if you're going to exclusively use featured weapons. Alright, that's the first area cleared. Nope, just kidding. World's longest strike intro. That clears those up so much quicker. I will say, this build feels pretty good. So far, this seems like a featured fortune. I feel, though, it would be performing a bit better if I had a team. That's just not the case here today. The scatter grenades are pretty solid. This gun actually does a pretty good amount of damage. Wow. I'm quite impressed, Polaris Lance. What on earth were you doing? Was he taking a tinkle in that corner? There is a perfect display of the scatter grenades coming in handy. But this is featured fortune. We're trying to test out whether or not these featured weapons are even usable. Gotta be using my ammo more. I've seen a lot of heavy ammo on the ground. Time to hack that barrier. This featured fortune video is actually putting me on to a lot of new gear. Uh-oh. We have some sort of barrier disruptor here. Hey, you. Fall to your knees. The sound that those make, man, that is so satisfying. I'll say they weren't playing around when they designed this strike. The fact that this is working really does prove to me that this is a pretty fortunate build. No! Take that. No! Alright, we were able to stagger the unstoppable there. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't know if we'll be completing this in the time limit. This is going to turn this build into a fiasco, I'm sure. This part of the strike's hard even without the added challenge of featured gear. I'll give it to Polaris Lance. It definitely does handle its own. Doesn't do bad damage. But neither does Val Morag. Come on, man. Just fall over already. There it is. We bursted him down. Let's Nova Bomb that fella. Get him off the battlefield. It's going pretty decent so far, I must say. It is very, very challenging like I would have expected, but these are hard activities to solo, as is, let alone some sort of silly build like this. And I'll say this might be the most fun I've had making a video so far, so I hope that translates to the video. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoy this series. Definitely not completing this in the time limit, but I do believe we'll hit our score. I think it's only a B, but boy, was it an earned B. B for boy. Alright, on to the final damage phase for Val Morag. Here we go. That interior section of the level was very hard, but so far this isn't too bad. I honestly thought I'd struggle more here than I would in there. These things do a lot of damage. Wow. I'm very surprised by the enhanced scatter nades, man. I would honestly use this build again in the future. This is quite fun. Thank goodness I have that sniper damage resistance. All right, big guy. This might be your end, I hope. Let's take Val Marag down once and for all. The last bit of damage here. Is this build featured fortune or featured fiasco? My honest opinion on the build here today is that this is our first featured fortune video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of this video, whether you think it was a featured fortune or a featured fiasco build. I love you guys, I appreciate you guys, and I hope you stick around. See you in the next video. Bye now.